Hello and welcome to Spirit Point. So another video for today, and this one seems like the continuation with the container that was kind of set up for the masculine initiation process, and what's kind of currently going on with the send off. So, and it came in pretty, like, I was ready to be done for the day, and then it just kind of like grabbed hold of me. So we will open it up and kind of go from here. So there's a lot of energy that came through when I did the first, the intro to the masculine initiation process. So I'll link that video. And then that container was kind of set up. So this kind of came in today, or no, this week. So, and then today it really kind of settled. A lot of energy kind of feels like settling. So, there is a purification that's kind of like taking place, and it feels like the heat in the oven is just starting. So we're still in preheat kind of phase. So, we haven't really stepped into the fire, but like the coals are starting to get warm. But with that being said, it was very interesting to feel this week. So, like, in my expression, so like to feel the collective energies, it was very interesting because during the week it kind of felt like a lot of energy came in, and then it was this masculine, so the masculine collective came in, and the feeling I got was it was just tired and exhausted and a little bit resentful with the feminine collective, so the feminine expression. And it was an interesting pocket to feel. So it was this kind of like never feeling acknowledged, never feeling like the work you did was ever, um, like, even your expression, like we even can go there, like even your expression as a masculine essence, like just the energy itself didn't feel like it was, um, loved or valued. And that was very interesting to feel. So it was almost this exhaustion that was just like, and frustration and kind of like just over it. But it was interesting to feel that because it was very collective. And then it was this pocket that just kind of felt like it was coming up to the surface. What was interesting to feel that, and especially in this process, is that it's kind of like it's this beautiful mirror point between the masculine and feminine. And in my sense, is like the feminine's kind of gone through it. So of course, it doesn't mean like every individual's gone through it, but like the collective energy, I feel like most of it has reached this point that it clicked in, where that kind of like not feeling seen or understood by the masculine energy kind of like softened, and um, tempered, because it was like this standard was put in place to meet her, to like see her, to do any of that. Like it required an internal, basically a resonance had to be made, to be reached and harmonized. But this mirror point of never being seen, or like seen not enough, or like not appreciated for what she did or who she is, it kind of felt like that point had been tempered to the point where she was kind of like relaxed into the land and like held in love, and like having herself be like held and grounded. So that point almost feels like in the majority of the like collective stream of the feminine essence, like she's reached that. So like that mirror point is now being brought up to the surface in the masculine collective, and it's like being shown. And it's very interesting because it's hitting all these very sore spots that you can connect to, like all the wars. Like it's interesting, it's stingy, it's kind of like, oof, yeah, I can feel that. And it's like, but you can't fall into that despair either. It's kind of like, it's very interesting because it's bringing up all these sore spots. And there's no sense in pointing the finger. Like it's not the way, never was for both collectives, right? But this point is almost going to be like the fuel on the fire to like go deeper and to find your home and to find that stability, to find where you're valued, to find where your fire is very much called for, where masculine essence is needed, where that pure expression, where it can be welcomed in yourself. So this is like coming up to the surface, and these are all like the sore spots of never being enough, it felt like, or even in the daily life. And I feel like this is a ripple effect that's going to take hold and kind of spread out. And it's interesting to feel that, but it's also just the start. So it's kind of like, there's so many different facets to this, of course, like, and there's so many different ways that this all clicks into place. But the masculine energy does feel like it's hitting this point where the shadows are coming up. And then it's kind of like all the dirt's being like toiled, ground, churned. And there is this kind of burn off that's happening. But like there's this, it's like, for so long it's been so action oriented, right? Like pointed in that direction. And it does feel like this kind of real holding up to the fire until like the masculine collective reaches that point to be fire. And what that means is that you're surrendered to that divinity, that soul essence that's you always, and then walks the way. Because the way will be shown, but you don't get to walk it. You don't get to make it. You get to surrender into where it's being laid out in front of you. It's a different kind of expression than what has been. Truer, surrendered, a masculine surrender. What does that feel? It's kind of like, so we're always the pursuer, the action, like the masculine energy has so many different labels, but it's also like you have to surrender into love, to surrender into source, right? To be that mirror, to hold that charge, to be that fire, to be, and then when that kind of gets clicked all the way in, then you hold the feminine. And the brightness is perfectly reflected, right? So how she just erupts into her true form, like you are in yours. And they both can hold each other. It's really, really important. And so this kind of like, this burn off is kind of happening, but it's also, it feels like the bumps and the bruises and the wounds of old too, where you may have held an oath or a vow to hold something in place through any time that was perceived in the time as you were doing something so sacred to hold this pillar, right? And it needed to happen, but also it's caused it's caused some heartbreak, it's caused some problems, it's caused burden. There it is. And that's coming up to the surface because it's not like, it's kind of like almost like you've done all this work and then you're looking at it and being like, nobody even cares. Look what everything I did. I'm just like, well, it's acknowledging that, like, you are loved for everything you've done throughout all of time. Like, that's always present. But also, like, the importance that your system may have put on some of these points is now kind of like tempering and resolving because we're moving out of it. Like, everything's shifting throughout all of it. So the groundwork through all of it is actually coming up. And to allow that to come up with your system. And if you like release that point, who are you underneath it? because like that's a big part of it. That's why it's coming up to the surface, to go deeper, to hold it, to be part of what you once protected, and that sacrificing in order to protect is not part of it anymore. And so it feels like all of this is wrapped up, and it feels like the next kind of like expression of what's clicking in is this kind of burn off that's happening, especially to do with all the old wounds and never getting any acknowledgement. I mean, that's been the case for a long time. I mean, you can look through what's coming up in my system is like when this, like in World War I and World War II, like when the soldiers, like especially in World War I, like when the soldiers came home, there was no kind of, it was like real disgrace, like disrespect for what you did. It wasn't that traditional kind of like homecoming. It's the first time, or I wouldn't say the first time, but it was a time in a period in time when you came home and it was kind of like disregarded and you just went through hell, right? So that kind of like masculine expression of never being acknowledged for what you did is it's an old story. Like we know it really well, and it's been expressed currently too. But it's kind of like the way it clicks in, like the way this energy moves, and like it all kind of absolves and dissolves, is that you don't get what you wanted, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like you don't get the recognition. Like that's not because it's not needed. That's the thing. So it's almost being allowed to hold yourself and being in that true presence. So when that kind of circulates, when you get into the ground and really talk with and hold court with Mother Earth, like with the planet, and go as deep as you can, and then really talk to the sun. That's really important because you are, reflection of the sun. A man is the son of the sun, right? When you really get into that and then really hold court with that, like your entire expression is like so loved. And it's also like when you really enter those really pure spaces, so like a really feminine, or it doesn't even have to be feminine, but that really pure like garden energy, right? When you come into that heaven kind of expression, it doesn't need protection, because that level of purity doesn't need, it's always is, it can never be touched, that level of purity. So it doesn't need protection. So like that almost, that expression almost has to kind of like metamorphosize into its true essence, because that is almost like a distortion, because you became this essence in order to it's sacred. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to blanket everything with a blanket of paint, but this is what's coming to a close. It's like having that being welcomed into the garden and like actually allowed enter instead of always being on the perimeter. So if you're always on the perimeter, you can hold it, but it's also like that distance can grow and grow and grow and grow. So how like actually becoming part of and welcomed in, that's a different kind of expression, because it's like you're able to come in and hold court, but it's also going down so deep that your expression is always loved, always, like your entire stream throughout all of it. And it's so needed. And also, like, there's so much breath and all of that, and so many gifts, and so much a celebration. Like, it's always constant. So, like, the need to get valid, like, acknowledgement is kind of like, why was it ever absent? It wasn't. It was always singing. And so it's kind of like it just throws the system for a loop, because it's like it's always singing, it's always present. So the fact that you couldn't see it is kind of like only because you're not truly in the body and embodied throughout your entire essence and in the ground, in earth. So it's kind of like, oh, and these are the breadcrumbs. So like this ignition that's coming up is kind of like actually fueling the fire to go deeper in and embody, because that celebration of your true essence, of everything you've ever done and all the work you're doing, and just the actual true expression of the masculine essence, is so loved, is so celebrated. And that energy pops off and is just continuously singing. But if you don't feel it and you don't see it, then it's kind of like an invitation to kind of go deeper, because it's always present. It's always present. And it's there within. I'm excited. So this is an important thing. And then the walk continues. So that's another part of it. It does feel like there's a burn off coming in, and to hold that sight is like very important. So it feels like some kind of, there's definitely a burn off coming. So, and I don't know what that means. Those are just the words that want to come through right now. So it does feel like, you know, the fire hasn't really gotten going yet. So I'm excited for that. So there's more to come, and I'll just listen and follow. Um, I do. I'll put in my hat in this kind of container about what kind of what I've seen that feels very important, especially due to the masculine initiation, which is, I think part of it is definitely getting embodied within the planet, and why it's kind of stable within it, stable on the planet, stable in the planet, and why that's sometimes very tricky because of what the masculine collective actually holds. So that feels really important to address, and release. Yeah, and release that. And then after that, like it's just getting rooted within that, which kind of feels like would pair up really nicely with the the energy that's kind of taken place, which is kind of like root the masculine essence, rooting the masculine essence. So that's going to be on my Calendly if it comes into being. So that's where those two energies kind of come in. But we'll see how this all takes place. Um, but yeah, this has been absolutely beautiful. Thank you for anyone who listens and resonates with this. You have my love, and I am so excited for this adventure. It's taking fold. Like this is energy that, to be honest, I've always dreamed about. Like this kind of initiation that's taking form through all these energies and coming into being. Like this is why I'm here. This is what I'm all about. Like that's the kind of essence. This is really exciting. And I'm so excited to see where this is all going to take place. It does feel very collective. It feels like it's snapping in, and we'll see where this goes. And I'm excited to be a part of it. So it's not done for me. Like this is as a participant as well. So, yeah, this is going to be a joyous walk, and at times intense, and that's okay. It's all love. So I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day whenever you're listening to this. Say hi to the natural elements that surround you, whether that be a stream, a rock, a tree, whatever holds you in your current place. I love you. Thank you. Take care.